The dramatic end of one of our favorite celebrity marriages. Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban have called it quits. It's all over the news today, and so we're going to unpack the story of their marriage and look at the possible cracks that might have led to this unfortunate end of what appeared to be an incredible romance. So welcome, my name is Lydia Griffith, and this is the Feng Shui and Bazi Chinese Astrology channel. On this channel, I often like to read the charts of famous people. I think it helps us to better understand our own lives and our own astrology. So welcome. If this speaks interest for you, please subscribe, like, and hit the bell so you don't miss a single video. I love doing couples readings, and I have helped so many couples along the many years I've been a practicing master Bazi astrologer and intuitive feng shui consultant for over 20 years. And many couples have come to me for varied reasons to figure out what's going on in their marriage and how Bazi astrology and analysis of their nuances of their relationship, how you can pinpoint those tricky places and work towards a hopeful, more positive outcome than a breakup. So I'm going to unpack Nicole Kidman first and then Keith Urban and weave together the story of this beautiful romance. Really and truly, I would imagine, just kind of the overview, I can tell you, is if I saw these two, I would be like, oh my gracious, yes. This is a wonderful marriage, a great pairing. Their Chinese animal that for their day, which is the most important part of your chart, are so harmonious. There's so many beautiful things working here, but I do think I saw some things that might explain what was going on behind the curtains. So Nicole is born June 20th, 1967 at 3:15 p.m., but no daylight savings time because it wasn't observed in Hawaii where she was born at the time. She has her 4 pillars: year of a yin fire sheep, month of yang fire horse, day of yin wood rabbit, and the hour of yang wood monkey. Can't actually believe I haven't covered these two before. I don't know. So one of the things you notice right away with her chart is she is extremely strong in her own element of wood. That yin wood day element, day pillar with the rabbit that is yin wood as well, coupled with the fact that she's born in an hour of yang wood, she's got a lot of her own element, around 40%. But what is nourishing her, water, is barely there, 2%. So she's got to stand strong in her own garden. That's what I always think of with yin wood, is like a garden. So then we see that the output energy, what is she creating, is very strong as well at 37%. So this shows someone who is very much in their own orbit, very much self-centered. That is not necessarily a negative thing, but very much about her circle of friends, her audience, her support, direct support, her sisters. I know she has one. But the good thing is she doesn't get stuck in her head because she has all of this fire, which is her career. Acting is in the fire element. Everything having to do with the entertainment industry. So if she's modeling or doing a campaign for a fragrance, for instance, or if she is behind the camera as a director, all of those things, or if she's writing, it's all wood and fire, okay? So the fire at 37%, really those two elements make up the most of her chart. And it is a big flowing outward of energy, a lot of output. So then her earth, which is where she takes what she's doing and manifests it into tangible goods, like a finished product of a movie or money, is balanced at 15%. Her career and her romantic relationships suffer for this because there's only 6%. And with only 2% water, those two elements are what is needed in her chart for full balance. But, I would say for this chart that the useful God is how the language is for Chinese astrology. The needed element is metal because there's enough earth to support it. You would bring earth and metal together for the ultimate combination to support her in her career. She doesn't really need water because she has so much of her own element. And there's a risk with too much water of her almost getting lost in the weeds. Yes. Let's jump over to happy Mr. Keith Urban. Born October 26th, 1967 at 12:05 in the morning in New Zealand. Here we have his 4 pillars. He's born also, again, same year. For some reason, I thought she was older than he was. Anyway, yin fire sheep, month of yang metal dog, day of yin water pig, and the hour of yang water rat. Again, we have somebody who is very, very strong in their own element of water. 45%. And for him, his metal, what nourishes him, is balanced at 15%. His output of wood is super weak at 6%, which can mean that for him, he's also very wrapped up in himself, very much about himself, his audience, his siblings, and his orbit. The risk for both of them is they get too lost in their own selves and that orbit that they're each in. Even though she being wood and him being water is a sweet little combination, especially for him, right? Because she, as a wood person, is a major motivator for his creative spark. In fact, I would imagine that her presence in his life motivated him to be far more creative, almost like she's his muse. His fire, what he manifests, is balanced at 17%. And his earth, his career, is also balanced at 17%. So, and like I said, the thing with Keith being a water person is it's a very nurturing, nourishing relationship for her, that he is bringing this water energy. But where her relationship to him, I think, is more healthy for him. Again, like she is his muse, a motivating, inspiring influence, and he kind of drowns her so that she winds up in the weeds like a garden overgrown or flooded out with too much of a good thing, which is herself. Almost makes me, so I would say that is for sure all of that. Now, for him, again, the element that he most needs is wood, which he got from her. They both, when you look at a couple's chart and you're looking at that day pillar, you're looking at what does each person look for in a relationship. Now, she's yin wood sitting on top of yin wood, which is the rabbit. She's looking for a mirror of herself, someone who they share similar values, similar things in common. This is a true life partner and friend. Now for him, as a yin water person, the pig in that day pillar for Keith is yang water, yang wood. So his has a little added nuance. Yes, he's looking for a partner. Yes, he's looking for a friend, but he's also looking for somebody that brings out the shadow side of him. A little bit of a rebel, a little bit naughty, okay? And is and is somebody that is really smart, really innovative, and again brings in this very inspiring influence in his life. So that's different than her, right? Hers is very simple. I just want a partner and a friend. But he is pulling from her the shadow. And yes, it's still a friendship and a partnership, but it's not as clear cut and it's not as simple as her position. And so that I thought was interesting. Then I'm going to look at other aspects of their charts to see where else they get along. For Keith, he has an incredible work ethic. Very loyal, very true. He can be a little tight with money as far as like how he spends his money. But I'm going to talk about the two things they have individually that they don't share, and then I'll speak about what they do share together. The other part about Keith, aside from a really good work ethic and being a little bit of a penny pincher, which is funny for somebody that's got gobsmacks of money, is he's very independent. He can be, I would imagine, a little hot-headed, and he's got to be the one in charge. He is the leader in this relationship. And with that, he can be a little bit self-absorbed and aloof, a little abrasive. Now, what she has that he doesn't is she's a force to be reckoned with. She loves to stay busy. She chases after her desires. She can be a little reckless. She's very competitive. She's a survivor. And she's got a little of that. And you see it in some of her movies and the roles that she plays. She's got a little vixen in there. For her, she has a component to her chart that is very much about somebody that loves life and lives it to the fullest. Again, she doesn't like to slow down. And she loves the arts. She loves a beautiful aesthetic to her life, whether it's the way that she dresses or her home or the food that she's eating. It's very sumptuous. Now, what they both have in common is they both need, and that's a capital letters need, harmony and balance. Otherwise, things get prickly and weird. They both also have a very sexy attraction, and I would imagine this was a very passionate, intimate relationship. They also love to socialize. They both can be a little idealistic, daydreamers, rainbow across the sky painters, if you will. Double-sized hammock on a lazy afternoon with palm trees. That kind of a little vibe, which is sweet for them to have together. But yeah, they both have the good fortune of amassing money, fame, and wealth in their lives. So there's some really gorgeous aspects, like I said, that really harmonize them. And a pig and a rabbit together are very harmonious, very peaceful, and emotionally sensitive. Now, as far as yin yang, he is very balanced. And when you look at the landscape, I love looking at the 5 elements through the landscape. His landscape is very much a waterfall that spills into a gentle stream and then cascades down into another waterfall where trees rise up. And there's like a big mountain that shines up there with like some kind of a sculpture, like a beautiful sculpture at the top of this mountain. And then it's kind of like the sun is there, but it's a cloudy sky, so it's diffused sunlight, it's not full. And down below on the other side of the mountain is a little beach. But predominantly, this is a very watery place. Not hot enough to say tropical, but just wet. In fact, I would almost say this feels like Seattle or London, okay? When we look at her 5-element landscape, she's a forest, okay? But she's also a forest filled with garden. So the predominant image is some trees with a beautiful meadow of flowers and grasses. There is a gorgeous sculpture in this garden that is big enough to threaten the trees, because that the yang wood monkey in her hour is a cutting influence. There's a conflict within her career that I'm sure it brings challenge. That is something as a monkey person in her hour she loves for her job. Anyway, so we've got this almost threateningly too big. I almost want to take it back and not say it's a sculpture, but more like in this garden with the trees is like a high-rise building that's almost overshadowing the trees. So maybe the trees aren't as tall as that building. But there is all of this garden and grasses and flowers, a bright sun, her month being a yang fire horse, a lot of bright sun shining down with a little bonfire that's on a big beach. And actually there's multiple bonfires on this beach. Maybe like there's gathered people all having a good time. So there is that real difference from Keith's chart of hers being far more hot and woodsy, flowery, whereas his is just really feels very cool and watery. So there is a kind of balance with her heat and his coolness. Now, this is where I think things get a little interesting. Now they got together, I believe in 2006 is when they got married. The interesting thing is their luck cycles line up. Sometimes that happens. And in a way, for a couple to have the same luck cycle schedule can show that they each go through big shifts and changes at the same time, which can be challenging because you can't really support each other. I'm going through a big change. I'm going through a big change. See you when we've gotten used to the big change, right? It's far better when one person is going through something and the other one can show up and support them. So in 2003, he moved into a luck cycle of a yang fire horse that was predominantly showcasing money, fame, travel, and marriage. The yin fire of the horse showed that not only did he have direct wealth coming in, but indirect as well. This was all, and also he's just married a movie star who's bringing in some of that extra wealth for sure. This is highlighting fatherhood, the archetype of the father, and possibly his own relationship with his father, and a lot of shifts and changes and opportunities with his career. For her, when they got married, they had Um, her, she had just moved into a period of a yang metal dog. Now, I will say that in 2003 for Keith, all of that fire was great for him. Really great. It warmed up a very wet, cold chart. That's a good thing. And the presence of her in his life, again, all that wood, is a direct flow of energy. His water, that wood of Nicole, and then all the fire of the Lux cycle. Beautiful for him. Beautiful. For her, this is metal and earth of the dog. And we remember that she needs metal. So, and the helpful God is earth. So again, they both are getting the elements that they most needed at this time. But I don't think that she needed all of his water. Okay. Now, the yang metal for her speaks predominantly of marriage. So they both entered times right when they got married, like within 3 years of starting this Lux cycle in 2003. They get together in 2006. Boom. They are so aligned for this relationship. The dog for her brings in, just like for him, wealth, money, fame, travel, challenges and shifts to her career, and daughters being foretold. I don't know when her daughters were born. 2013, they've been married now 10 years. And now she has the pig of this new Lux cycle, plus her rabbit self, and the year of the sheep, forming a full water trio. And, full wood trio. This is big, emboldened, like she is so emboldened, 2013 to 2023. Very, very self-focused. Okay. Now, the yin metal of this time highlights not her marriage, family, and home, but now it's highlighting her career, changes and challenges in her career, lots of opportunities. The yang water of the pig is all about the mother. It's about signing contracts. It's about the divine feminine and her role as a mother. It's also that yang wood is talking about her, all the different roles that she's playing. Then when we look at Keith in 2013, moving into a yin wood snake, just like this year, 2025, it highlighted for him. Now remember, she's now, the previous decade, they each really had the same aspects of their lives lit up. Now we're going into another Lux cycle and a new time in their relationship. Because if you look at it, this feels for her way more about her career. Almost like, her response to her astrology is a shift away from home, family, and her marriage, and more focused on her career. And that's sometimes what we do when we feel like, hey, everything's steady and going well. I can now turn my focus more to this. For him, he moved into a time of great creativity, yin wood of the snake. It was all about really enjoying his creative projects. The snake highlighted still his marriage, fame, travel, wealth. He also had tucked in there his daughters, home, family, his job, and signing contracts and legal matters. This is a time from 2013 to 2023 when, if you ask me, where their astrological focus was motivating them or influencing them for sure, were not aligned. Now, when we look at this time for him, the wood and fire, again, are really wonderful elements. They're very helpful. But the problem, I think, at this point is they're getting from their chart what they need, and what they're getting elementally from each other is then an overload of, for her, too much water, and for him, too much wood. She's drowning in support, and he is overwhelmed with creative output. Could be a good thing, but it could also, again, be too much of a good thing. Now, interesting that just a couple years ago, and maybe this is where things really went awry. This, I think, is for her for sure. She moves into Nicole Kidman's current luck cycle, 2023 to 2033, is a very unfortunate placement for her. She has Yang water rat, double water. In fact, it mirrors his career pillar, his hour. It is all about her mother, who just died, the archetype of the mother, everything having to do with legal things, and her faith, what is backing her, what she is learning, how she's being inspired. It is an overwhelm of water, okay? And there's a semi-water trio here. Also, this rat of this time for her is in clash with the horse of her month. And when I see a luck cycle come in that hits and attacks with conflict, one of the pillars, I guarantee somebody's going to pass away. And I see this time and again where a luck cycle hits someone's month and a parent goes into a decline and possibly dies. That's what happened for her. The other piece to this is that the rat is one of her nobleman stars. She has angelic presence here. There's a real spiritual flavor to this time of her life. Certainly grief can lead you to that. But the rat forms a penalty to her rabbit. This is the worst part of this time, the message and the influence of this decade for her. The rat-rabbit penalty highlights relationships that began one way and suddenly spin into something that is no longer working for you and in fact has become toxic. It's getting into every kind of relationship where, it makes me think of that Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni conflict, from that movie. It's situations similar to that where you get into a project and the people involved, one or many, turn their backs on you. Deals fall through. You get stabbed in the back. But I think as far as looking at just her marriage, I would think that by the time 2023 rolled in, something seriously shifted for her. She's overwhelmed with water. She's drowning. She's in the weeds. And for him, in 2023, he moved into a time of a Yang wood dragon, which forms a conflict with his month of the dog. Now, I don't know if he's lost a parent in the last couple of years, but it wouldn't surprise me. This time for him, she's in this place of, legal stuff, dealing with legal problems, contractual problems, and a real spiritual awakening, I think. Certainly possibly born out of grief. And for him, he is in a time of great change. This wood feels almost rebellious. And I'm certainly not going to suggest that he's had an affair or anything, but it's that kind of a verve where you go off on a tangent or you go down a road you've never been down before in your life. You're exploring some kind of new avenues. And the dragon is very much about his marriage. It's also about family. It's about his daughters. And there's a lot of creative energy. And right now, his sense of self feels kind of underground. Everything, all of these other components, what he's creating, what he's doing, and his marriage, or not his marriage, his kids and his work are really where he's centered. I'm sorry if I had said that marriage was part of this time of his life. It isn't. It's very work and creativity focused, to the point where he could actually lose himself in all of his work and creativity and this, again, kind of rebellious, almost midlife crisis energy going on. Now, add to all of this, and we're going to wrap this up. Thank you for staying with me. It's such an amazing story. For them, this particular year, for him, the snake is a nobleman's star. The other nobleman's star for him, I was going to say, Nicole is his angel. I mean, she plays an angelic role in his life. And the snake is the other one. So for him, again, this is a very creative time. That wood energy is a motivating force. The snake comes in and is the enemy of his day of the pig. It is going to bang that day pillar is banging open with so much challenge to his marriage. Because that's what that yang fire of the snake is about. It's about his marriage. It's going to also affect his money, his property. And tucked into the snake are legal problems. And it also is about his daughters and his home and his work. Everything this year is being impacted by this year of the snake hitting that day of the pig. Not a good year for Keith Urban. No matter how much successes he might still be having, the underlying story for this guy is he's really going through something. Now for her, the yin wood of this year is, I'm here. This is me, and I'm standing strong and independent, and I got my shit together. The snake, the yang fire, is about massive change. And massive change that hits her career and her children because of that semi-fire penalty in her hour of the monkey. So there is a lot of change that is impacting her work. It's impacting her home and her family. Big changes. Tucked under all of this is money impacted, property impacted, just like him. I hope that they can do this with peace and accord and harmony, the way that a lot of their relationship was until it wasn't. This is the thing, friends. If you ever want me to do a relationship read for you, there are links below in the description because look at this. I honest to God believe these luck cycles came in and disrupted this beautiful relationship and shifted the narrative. That's it. It could have gone a different way. But this is their karmic alignment. This is our lives. Our astrology is a karmic journey. And when we get to the knowing of that story, we can better align with it. We can work with it. Like if I had met these people back in 2013, I could have given them caution. I could have given them advice on tools of how to nuance through this time with greater success and possibly a better outcome. She fought hard for this not to end. So, no blame, no shame, but wow, such a sad thing to see it go. And I wish them both the best of luck in their way forward. But, yeah, and, you know, her career, one of her nobleman stars is the monkey. And so, you know, her career is a blessed thing for her, along with her children. And this year really is, there is a transformative thing going on for her this year. Anyway, thank you so much. Your questions and comments are welcome. And until next time, please be well.